Hi, and welcome to Origin of Concepts. Sorry, I haven't been uploading any videos for the past couple of days because I've been a little sick. And if I sounds like this, you know why. Alright, in this video I'll reveal the true inspiration source for the ancient Vikings for making the Mjolnir up here, or Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. And because I think many people around the world, interested in Norse mythology, want to know where this symbol comes from and what the purpose of it is and everything. And I'll give you all the answers, I promise. And this will be the first time, I think, because you won't find this anywhere else on the entire internet. So hang on for a couple of minutes and I'll reveal it. Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, is the legendary weapon of the god Thor in Norse mythology, and stands as one of the most powerful symbols in Norse mythology and also in Scandinavian culture until the Christianity took over. And by the way, maybe a couple of 100 years, they took it and make it look like a cross and something like that. Okay, the hammer serves as both a devastating weapon and a divine instrument used for blessings and to consecrate important milestones like marriages and other, divine, gestures. I'll use the Kirkhammer from Sweden. This is an artifact up here. As an example of the origin of Thor's hammer and its inspiration source, which was found in the Milky Way center, of course, and that's exactly why I'm here. So let me jump to the Milky Way center here. And before I start, Thor's hammer was worn upside down, basically to indicate that spirit must, or manifested spirit, it's very important, must point down to earth, so to speak, down to the mortal realm, onto the people or us humans. So let me start, turn it around here so you can see this is how it actually should look like. So, okay, so let me start a drawing here. Because Thor's hammer, or Mjolnir, is visualized by the dark shadows surrounding the Milky Way center. And let me outline it for you. Here we got the bottom of the hammer, and then we just follow the dark shadows up here, and I'll stop here. And there's a reason for that, because there's also an eagle head, or a head of a raven. So let me turn the picture around here. There it was. So now you can see the head of the raven on the shaft. So let me start outlining the shaft here, because the shaft is the striped shadow here in the Milky Way. Here we got the shaft of the hammer. Or maybe I should do it the other way around, like this. Something like this. So here you got the shaft. And then we got the raven head, which is mounted on top of the shaft. And the raven or eagle or whatever is is formed by the silvery shadow here. And let me outline it for you, because this is always the bird in the Milky Way center here. And then it stands like here. Like this. And the eye is here. So here you got the raven head or the eagle-like figure. And then we got some ornaments on the hammer. You know, ornaments is very popular in Norse mythology. And basically, ornaments is just a symbol of cosmos, like manifesting from nothing and from manifesting back to nothing, back to spirit. Spirit to mortal and mortal to spirit. You know, the spiral in and out. And this is basically, it's funny because that's the spiral basically has the same symbolic values in every single worldwide myth. So that's funny. All right. And now let's keep this this picture. And I guess I don't have to tell you that the shadows here on each side is, of course, the two ends of the hammer. But now you see the raven or eagle standing on the shaft, and that's the most important thing. Okay, I'll go through some various texts and translations from the Prose Edda and the Edda texts. And I'll start, before I go to the Edda texts, I'll start with the texts from the Kvenneby amulet, also an artifact, with the text, Thor protect him with his hammer, which came from out of the sea. And now you know where to find the hammer, then let me show you the sea, because this is the sea from which the hammer originates. And this merge up with basically every single world myth, because this spot right above the golden disk or manifested spirit here in the Milky Way center are the void, the pure spirit, the nothingness, so to speak, from where everything, you know, manifests. First into the golden disk light and then into our physical world, or into the flesh, so to speak, the striped shadow here. All right. Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, always returns to Thor's grip no matter the distance. So I'll delete the board here. Because, maybe I should leave the hammer and just remove the raven here. Because the silvery shadow here is the hand of Thor, his iron glove. And when we follow the textures here in the shadows, the stripes here are the fingers holding the hammer. So it will always land in Thor's hands, in his grip. Mjolnir never misses a target when thrown. And no, it won't. It will always. Let me outline it here, the full hammer, just to get a better perspective. So, it never misses its target. The target, the way it is written in the Edda texts, is the target is related to a shield, or the edge of the mortal realm, the edge between spirit and the mortal realm. And there's only one shield in the Milky Way center. And this is the shield here. And sometimes it's the entire Milky Way center here, the great shield. So, but this is the shield. The shield is the Milky Way center. And this is also, when you're playing dart, you have to hit the red spot in the middle, which is has the name bullseye. And this is also the eye of the bull, if we go to other mythologies. So same, just two different cultures. The handle is unusual short. When the people making the hammer, was interrupted by another god who was transforming into a fly and bit him, the handle was making unusual short. And as you can see here, the handle is very short. So that's why. The stripe shadow is, if I mute the picture here, you can see if we line up all the shadows in full size, because this is also the hammer here, and then you can see the shaft is very short. So that's the origin of that text. And what else do I got here? The hammer can change size and become so small that it can be in a pocket or inside the clothing. And the entire Milky Way center here is the pocket. This is the pocket in the sky. And in other myths, you got silver coins in the pocket. Or, in this case, we got the hammer in the pocket. And various other things can be in that pocket. And in the Bible myth, Moses put his hand in, his gray hand, and it is the same as the hand of Thor. And so on and so forth. So here you see the pocket in the Milky Way center. Mjolnir is so strong that it can crush mountains. And of course it is. Because this is the mountain in the sky. And when the hammer is crushing the mountains, you got the striped shadow here. This is the crushed mountain. So here you got it. And let me go back to my main image here. When Thor swings his hammer, thunder roars and lightning surrounds it. Well, it's not exactly like that. It's written in the Eddas, but it's related to thunder and lightning. And I agree. Because first of all, the lightning is the striped shadow here. And this is also the thunderbolt of Zeus from Greek mythology, and a lot of other weapons from the Hindus and stuff like that. But I'll make another video about that. So here you see the lightning from the hammer. And then we also got thunder. And when we are talking about thunder, people think, when we see the dark skies, and we got lightning and the sound of thunder in the sky, it's not that thunder we are talking about here. This is thunder is like an allegory of the sound of creation. The roaring sound. And this sound is, of course, the striped shadow too. And just to give it some better meaning, the Milky Way center, is also the big mouth here. And here comes the sound of creation. So the striped shadow, the striped shadow is always the manifested creation, the first step of creation. And in this case, the thunder is the sound of creation itself. Then maybe they put something to the mortal thunder, but that's secondary. The myth is about divine thunder. And by the way, the lightning is also the divine lightning, the manifestation of light, so to speak. So I think that's important to add that aspect, because in the school you always hear, oh, and then Thor is in his chariot, and his hammer, and then people think he's riding in the sky when you see the thunder and the lightning. But it's not that they are talking about in the textures, just to be clear. Okay. And to be able to handle Mjolnir, Thor uses iron gloves. And the one glove is named iron grip. and then he, and let me show you the iron gloves here, because we can find it. It's the same as the hand. This is the iron gloves here. And the other is, of course, this shadow here. I'll just make like this. This is the two gloves of Thor. And the iron is, of course, an allegory of the red part of the Milky Way, the divine manifested spirit light here. This is also the place the hammer is forged, in the center of the Milky Way, of course, of divine light. So here you get the iron gloves of Thor, so he can hold the hammer. And again, it fits with the striped shadow here, which is the shaft of the divine hammer here. So here you got it. And Thor swung his hammer over the goat skins and discovered the thigh bones was broken on one of his goats. This belongs to a longer myth, but it's very famous. Thor got two goats, and he can slaughter them every night to get something to eat, and then he could put the bones in the skin and swing his hammer, and then next day they are alive and he can start over. But in this myth, a boy, Chalfie, he breaks the bones to suck out what's inside, and then Thor gets very angry. But let's find we know where the hammer is, and let me outline the goat's skin and the bones, because the silvery shadow here is the goat skin, and this is, of course, the bones here, the broken bones. And in some myth, or in the myth, sorry, we got specific info that the bone is the thigh bone that was broken. And if you look closely here, I'll go back to you can see this shadow has the shape of a thigh bone of a goat. So here you got it. Okay. Thor clenched his hands around the hammer, hammer handle, until his knuckles turned white. He was so angry, his knuckles turned white. And again, you already know where to find the hand here. And here's the knuckles. And they turn white because this is the white silvery shadow of the Milky Way center. So every time you hear anything about snow or white, or and that's basically every single myth around the world, it's this part of the Milky Way, the snowy land. Okay, and then we got the story about Thor and the snoring giant Skrymir. You know, they are sleeping, I think, in a tent or something, and the giant is snoring, and Thor gets angry and tries to kill him. Thor hits Skrymir in the head, and Skrymir wake up and asks, "What it was it a leaf?" That's the first one. And first of all, the head of Skrymir is, of course, this area. This is always the head or the skull cap or the skull of the Milky Way. And the leaf is a hint for the striped shadow here, because this is the oak leaf in the Milky Way center. And every other kinds of leaves or trees or plants. And then Thor hits him once again. But this time in the bald hair swirl. Yeah, it's like a hair on a bald backhead. You got this annoying thing, so your hair every morning is like... And it seems like that Skymir has like a hairlock in that swirl. And when Thor is hitting him and he's waking up and asks, was it an acorn that hit me, And let me show you the acorn. Because the bald head with the hairlock is, of course, the striped shadow here. And this time we got the acorn. The acorn is the golden disc here, the disc light. The acorn, the big apple. So here you got that story. And then, of course, at the end, Thor is getting very angry and, crushes him, kill him. All right. And then I think I'll make a little funny thing here, because I'll try to read. The original text is Icelandic, I think. It's very high up Scandinavian language, but it's also translated to Old Danish, and I can speak that language. So I'll try to give you a little test of how it sounds. And in this section here of the Poetic Edda, it tells about that Thor puts the hammer on the knee of the Virgin, which is often translated to the lap of the Virgin. But it's very important that it's a knee, and you'll learn it. You'll know in a second, because the text will sound like this in Old Scandinavian Danish. Turs, melde dig Trym, Tursekongen. Bringer mig hammeren, bruden at vige. Lægge Mjolnir i Møns knæ. Vi os sammen i vores navn. Yeah. If you can translate that and put it in the comments, you are good. And it's basically say that bring me the hammer for marrying the bride. Put the hammer in the maiden's knee. Okay, so let's find out, because this is very famous. You already know where to find the hammer, and I'll outline it again. I think I'll use this color. Basically, this is the hammer here. And again, I'll leave the last section free, because this is the Virgin here. This is the silvery shadow here is always the female in the night sky. And this is her knee. So he will put the hammer on her knee. So here you got it, my friends. There can be no doubt. No doubt. This match up with everything else in the rest of the world, just with similar stories. It's always the knee or the elbow. So now you know that. And let's take one more just for fun. Because in this, in the next text, it says, from his shoulders, from Thor's shoulders, he set the kettle down, and then swung Mjolnir, the murderous one, and felled all the giants of the mountains. And let me take that in old Danish, because I think it's funny. Fra skuldrene kedlen ned han satte, svang som mjølne, den myrdelystne, og fældede alle fjeldenes jætter. Okay, let's found the kettle. Because the kettle is also an entire part of the Norse mythology. But the entire Milky Way here, oh, sorry, let me find another color. The entire Milky Way center here is like the big kettle in the sky. We could put it on some stains here. So this is the kettle. And the kettle is on the shoulders of Thor. And the dark shadows here outlining the Milky Way center is always the shoulders. Every single myth around the world, no matter which culture, if you hear the name shoulders, that's it. And then he felled all the giants on the mountain. And let me outline, because the same, if we follow the outlines here, more zigzag-like, you also got the shoulders and the mountains are the same shadow. And then you got all the slain giants, and they are here, the stripe shadow. The stripes symbolize, people lying dead on the mountains. It could also be the gods on the mountain, or the gods in the clouds, or the dead warriors going to Valhalla, and so on and so forth. So this is the stripe shadow is the crowd of people or animals, or more than one, all the trees and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. So now you know that. And then let me, for one last time here, put the hammer up here again. Something like this. You know what I mean. This is the hammer. Because if we take the etymology of Mjolnir, it relates to lightning or grinding. You grind something so it gets to dust, like spices. And it's connected to storm and thunder, and crushing something, and it's also related to white snow. So let's see here. First of all, you know where to find the lightning already. The stripe shadow here. And this is also the thunder, and this is also the storms, because the coiled, the striped shadow is also the whirlwind, the coiled, the wind coming from nothingness, breath of life, if you are for ancient Egypt, for example, and the abracadabra. So here you got the wind. He's not controlling the mortal winds here. It's the divine winds of creation, of course. And then we got the snow, and the snow is related to the white area here of the Milky Way, which is also the snowing or icy parts of the worlds in the Yggdrasil tree. One of the 9 worlds, I can't remember the name now. But you can go see my Yggdrasil video, of the 9 realms of Yggdrasil. Okay, and just to finish it all off, Mjolnir here, the great hammer of Thor. Here we got it. Survives the end of the world, Ragnarok. And here we have to be very literal, because it says the end of the world. But it's not the destruction of Earth here on Earth, or the human life, as you think out there. It's an allegory, because the end of the world is right here. It's the end of the mortal world and the beginning of the spirit world. Because the striped shadow is the bridge between the mortal realm and the spirit realm, or the afterlife, or whatever, Valhalla. So that's the end of the world. And Ragnarok is visualized by the entire Milky Way center here. If you take a look at it, it looks like, thunder and lightning and fire and dark shadows and the earthquakes here. This is always the earthquake, and the fire here on the mountain, and all the smoke, It's the Ragnarok, it's the doomsday. In most mythologies, when they are talking about doomsday, it's the end of no wisdom. So when you reach the doomsday, it's because you obtain wisdom. You can never go back to the mortal lower mind, so to speak, to your ego, because when you see the light, you just can't go back. So therefore, you have to go into Ragnarok at some point, hopefully. And with this, I will end the video for today. I hope you enjoyed everything, because this is breaking news. And until my next video, take care. So long and bye.